On this episode of the Comic Constitutionalist, The Atlantic wrote an article citing the 50th anniversary of the 1965 Immigration and Nationalization Act. We break it down. In segment 2, the climate alarmists are getting so alarmed, they're getting so perturbed, that they've written a letter to President Obama et al., trying to get them to use the RICO Act against us global warming denialists. And along the same lines in segment 3, you ever seen a map of a hurricane? Ever seen a tracking map of a hurricane? It looks like the game Pick Up Sticks with a bunch of lines written all over each other in every which way. We'll break that down too. Today, on the Comic Constitutionalist.
You're listening to the Comic Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black comic.
So I don't know if you know it or not, but yesterday, October 3rd, was the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Immigration and Nationality Act in 1965. And here, I don't know whether did you send a card to an illegal? Did you send a card to any immigrant thanking them for showing up? I didn't. I must have forgot. Procrastination is a you-know-what. Maybe I'll remember next year. Who knows? But the Atlantic Online wrote a piece regarding the Immigration and Nationality Act, and I want to go ahead and just break that down real quick here. Basically, what the INA did was it broke down the barriers to allow basically no quotas from different nations. It got rid of all the quotas where you had preferential treatment for Europeans and whiteys over Africans and Asians and who knows what, and Latinos, I guess. And it was supposed to break down the barriers and so on and so forth, and this was signed by LBJ. And basically the rule of thumb is that anything signed by LBJ, if it's good for LBJ, if he wanted it, it's bad for the nation. Pure and simple. It's just like any other liberal or progressive policy. That's the rule of thumb. You really don't need to even know anything about what the act or rule or law or regulation is. If the Democrats or the progressives or somebody like LBJ or FDR or whoever is promoting it or was promoting it or Obama is promoting it, it's bad for the country. It's pure and simple. It works virtually every time it's tried. So anytime you see something going forward that's being pushed or signed by Obama or was signed in the past by some progressive politician, you'll know it was bad for the nation. And so was the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act. It was bad for the nation. It got rid of quotas, and it was the birthplace of chain migration. The Atlantic writes that in the subsequent half-century since 1965, since the act was signed, the pattern of U.S. immigration has changed dramatically. Really? Gee. I hadn't noticed. It says the share of the U.S. population born outside the country tripled and became far more diverse. And we all know diversity for diversity's sake is good. We don't know why it's good, but they tell us it's good, so it must be good. Got it? Evidently, 7 out of every 8 immigrants in 1960 were from Europe, and by 2010, 9 out of 10 were coming from other parts of the world. The third world, that is. And that's great for America, because we all know that the scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and electronic geniuses and men of medicine all come from the third world. And ain't that a good thing? The Atlantic writes that the United States has long struggled to define what it really means to become American and which immigrants qualify. What it means to become American, we don't even know anymore, because the people that come here to live don't want to be American. They just want to live here and collect all the free crap. They continue. It says George Washington declared that the country was open to the, open quote, the oppressed and persecuted of all nations and religions, close quote. But the idea persists that America is a Judeo-Christian nation, that being a Muslim American is contradictory in terms, and that some nationalities are inferior to others. Well, in fact, yes. America was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And that doesn't mean that only Judeo-Christians are welcome. Everybody's welcome. If you get in here legally and properly and you want to assimilate and become an American, then you're welcome. If you don't, you're not, or you shouldn't be. But that the term Judeo-Christian nation, it kind of only applies from what we derive our value system from. It's not. They make it out. The liberals always make this out to be the Judeo-Christian nation as to be some sort of national religion or something, and that's not the way it is. It's strictly what the country, the values of the country was founded upon. And being Muslim in itself isn't contradictory. Being a Sharia-compliant Islamist kinda is, don't you think? And really there are no inferior nations, as it were, as they say. There are inferior, we'll say, national structures, okay? Ours is the best. Ours has been proven over time as being the best, and that's why we've been able to excel over the period of several hundred years, where it's taken other societies, if they do at all, to excel over thousands of years. Duh. Do the math. They continue by quoting then Vice President Hubert Humphrey in 1965, and he said, "We have removed all elements of second-class citizenship from our laws by the 1964 Civil Rights Act. We must remove in 1965 all elements in our immigration law which suggest there are second-class people." Well, that's complete crap. As a matter of fact, the whole Civil Rights Act was complete crap, too. If I was me at the time, I would have voted against it. The Civil Rights Act and the Immigration and Nationality Act also. It's completely unnecessary, and it's just a bunch of feel-good liberal politics. And I don't care how many politicians supported it, blah, 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 whatever. None of the acts would have been necessary if we simply held true to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And I don't want to hear anyone's nonsense about, well, what about 3/5 of a human and everything? If you can't go back and do your homework as to why that was done, then the heck with you anyway. But the point is that the Constitution has been amended over the period of years to correct any quote-unquote errors that the founders may have come up with or may have enacted at the time. That's the way to do it properly, not with these overarching, sweeping acts that change the whole tenor of the country. And as I said before, all this thing did was take us from a skills-based immigration policy to a chain migration, anyone can get in if somebody they know lives here, basically policy. And now that's even gone out the window, and it doesn't make any difference. You can just walk across the border, and if you're in a protected class, you're allowed to stay here. And if you happen to be Syrian, Muslim, probably between the ages of 18 and 34, and you're within 100 or 200,000 that they're going to let in, who knows who they are. They're just going to let them all in, and there's another slog of migration. During the signing of this act, it was on Liberty Island, no less, where President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed this thing. He said that the new law corrects a cruel and enduring wrong in the conduct of the American nation. Oh, brother. He also said the bill that we signed today is not a revolutionary bill. Well, you got to put that in to downplay that it is, in fact, a revolutionary bill and it changed the whole look of America. Could be probably forever, and to the detriment of the United States, of which we're finding out now. And his LBJ's Secretary of State, Dean Rusk, said that he saw no indication of a world where everybody is just straining to move the United States. Well, we find out that that's a complete crock of crap, and they probably knew it at the time, didn't care. They wanted this thing. It's the same as, I think it was 1986, Teddy Kennedy with the illegal immigration amnesty thing that Reagan was conned into signing. He basically said the same thing, that you just let these 3 million in, and it's not like it's going to change the whole, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's something to the effect that it's not like it's going to change the whole nation, or it's not going to change the look of the whole nation. And in fact, he was a lying sack of crap too, just like LBJ and his minions were lying sacks. It's the same thing every time. These policies, these acts, these rules and regulations, they create more problems than they're worth, but they want the problems. They wanted this migration. They wanted this immigration. And it's the same thing today. It just keeps going on and on. There's no new ideas. They just reconstitute the old ones.